Hi again. Now that we have done custom guide RNA generation for single gene or locus, we can do batch library or batch guide RNA generation using our generate library feature. So the starting steps are all the same. You select an organism endonuclease as well as an appropriate annotation file, and select for the genes of interest. We can go back to DNA polymerase and select, let's say, 3 genes from there. Click Submit. Casper will pull the guide RNAs for those genes, and then click Generate Library instead of View Targets. And this will bring us to the Generate Library window. We have lots of parameters to specify to adjust the output that we get from this. First, we have the library size and location. Then we have quality filtering metrics to contend with, and then third, we have targeting guidelines, and then lastly is where we're going to output the library to. So we can go through these one by one, but if for any reason you forget and get confused, all of these have tooltips that you can hover over explaining what Casper is looking for. So the number of guides per gene is how many guide RNAs Casper will attempt to pull from the selected genes, given the criteria in this window. So since we selected 3 genes, let's try and do 5 guides per gene, which should give us a total of 15 guides, assuming there are that many guide RNAs in the gene that meet all of the specified criteria. But more on that later. Targeting range tells us the portion of the gene from which we want to pull our guide RNAs from. So if we wanted to target from the first half, we would do 0 to 50. Quality filtering allows us to filter our library based on the quality of our guide RNAs relative to off-targeting or on-targeting. By default, the off-target is performed against the genome that the guide RNAs are generated out of. In this case, it would be E. coli K12. So we can choose to find off-targets or not find off-targets. For the sake of this video, we will not find off-targets. And then we also have the option to filter on the on-target score from any range. So say we wanted only guide RNAs with on-target scores better than 45. We can click that and then move on to our next category, which is targeting guidelines. Space between guides just specifies how much distance you want between guides, basically preventing overlap of your guide RNAs. 15 is the default, but it can be set to anything you want. For the sake of this, we can keep it at 15. And then while you have 5' in specificity, maybe you need a G at the 5' end of your guide RNA for the promoter you're using. Maybe you don't need anything at all. In this case, we're just going to leave it blank. And then last kind of parameter we have is this modify parameters if no target is found. And basically all that is saying is that if Casper can't find the specified number of guides, given all of these restrictions, then it's going to relax those parameters and just pick some guides to give us our quota of 5, even if they don't match all of these criteria. So we will leave that unchecked for now. Let's say we want to be pretty strict. Lastly, we have our output file name and path. The default of once again is the Casper database that we specified earlier, and we can name this file whatever we want, but I'm okay with this name. So we can click Submit, and it tells us that Casper has finished generating our library. Now if we go into that folder, we can find the library file waiting for us in CSV format. We can open this in Excel, and we see on the leftmost column, we have the gene name, and we have the number of the guides. So DNAQ 1 through 5, DNAE 1 through 5, POL-B 1 through 5. And then we have their sequences, their on-target scores, which are all above, or are all 45 or greater, the location within the genome, PAM, and strand. Now we can order these directly from a manufacturer, or do further filtering and manipulation in Excel.